Welcome to the Richmond Leadership Lab, featuring business and nonprofit leaders across Richmond, Virginia. Produced and hosted by FilmSpire and Ben X.
Friends, welcome to the second episode of the Richmond Leadership Lab. In our podcast, we get to sit down with leaders in Richmond in both the for-profit and nonprofit world, and we really get to ask them questions about their story, really mine them for their expertise, and talk about leadership, success, growth, all those things that have contributed to their success for themselves and their organization. So I'm joined by my wonderful guest as well, or my co-host, Christian Mosier with Ben X. So my buddy here.
Great to be here.
Great to be here. And today we have the amazing pleasure to speak with our mutual friend, Todd Mawyer. He is the CEO of TK Promotions. Todd, thanks for joining us, man.
Glad to be here, gentlemen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for making it happen.
Yeah.
With all the snow.
Yeah, did you survive?
It's a great end of my week here.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Good. Well, again, we're super happy to have you here. We were both talking about who could our next guest be. And it was just so funny. We both had like a kind of a connection to you. I know, I met you years ago, if you remember this, with Second Baptist.
That's correct. Filming the
anniversary. What was that? 300 years or two? I can't remember. It's
200th anniversary.
200th anniversary of their church, which is crazy. And then Christian also knew you as well too. So it was like, yes, Todd, we got to have Todd on the show, 100%. So
I am humbled and honored. I figured you guys just ran out of a good candidate. So.
Not quite yet.
Yeah. We went through the whole list and like Todd's
You're stretching for number 2 already.
It was number 28, but we'll see.
Yeah. But we'd love to first really dive in for just a couple minutes, Todd, if you can, for about 5 or 6 minutes. We'd love to kind of just hear your story if you can. I know that's hard to fit into 5 or 6 minutes, but just a little bit about your background, where you grew up, anything that you felt like kind of helped you get to your place where you are today as the CEO of TK Promotions. So just, Todd, if you just take the floor, tell us about yourself, man. Tell us your backstory.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. So my story starts on Bellevue Avenue, downtown Richmond, where I was born. Have an older brother, younger sister, where we grew up, and then moved out to Hanover County when I was in second grade to find a better school system and really kind of expand our family's reach. We had 10 acres out there and lived in the rural part where, we could gallivant around the neighborhood for hours and not get in trouble. It's just really, really fun to grow up in Hanover. Went to Atlee High School, graduated, playing in the marching band there was kind of my sweet spot. And
what instrument?
The trumpet.
There we go.
The best instrument.
Nice.
And took that to the University of Tennessee, where I also played in the marching band there. And that was a highlight of my college career, was traveling to all the football games and playing in the pep band for all the basketball games. And back when I was in school, Tennessee athletics was actually really good. So I traveled to bowl games around the country and then played my trumpet in 3 Final Fours for the Lady Vols when Pat Summitt was the coach.
Wow.
And Pat Summitt is one of the premier leadership people that I follow in my life. So a lot of the things that she has written and said over the years, I try to instill in my career. But so the University of Tennessee was a big piece of my history. Graduated from there and worked in sales with a company called C. Forbes Incorporated that was in the promotional industry. Their specific niche was working with federal government agencies up in Washington, D.C. Did a lot of work for the Republican Party and got to know this industry through that lens. It was 2008. I was 26, 27 years old and had always had this entrepreneurial bug and knew this industry and decided to go out on my own and start a business called TK Promotions in June of 2008. And so we'll be celebrating our 17th anniversary coming up. So just exciting to certainly see the history of the company. But got into business then and really just learned along the way. I didn't have a huge mentor or any type of group around me at the time. I was just kind of like grinding out every day and going to the next day, grinding out again, go to the next day. So that's just formulated kind of who I've become through just kind of lessons learned. And it's crazy to think that it'll be 17 years this year. But got married 11 and a half years ago to my wife, Meredith. We met each other at church.
Nice.
And we have 3 young children, 9, 7, and 6. And we have really good time with family time around the house. We just got back from a Disney cruise. So we're starting to experience some fun things with them,
very
create
nice.
some core memories
Yeah.
for them and for us. So, just kind of working through work life, but also now with kids, young kids, kind of balancing that with the home life. So, kind of how I've gotten here with that is, my faith has certainly been a big staple, a big priority for me throughout the course of all of it.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, the most important thing about me isn't even about me. It's about my faith in Jesus Christ. So that's important for me to always tell people and certainly emulate my life around.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I'll have to pick your brain later because I got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I'm in the thick of it right now.
Yes,
with,
you are.
with kids, and
Yes, you are.
I'd love to pick your brain at some point about like how you got through this phase, this season of life with the young ones, because it is just wild. I mean, it's insane. It's all great, but it's also wild too.
Strong marriage and a strong wife.
There you go. Yes, and then a lot of prayer, probably as
Behind
well
every
too.
successful man is a strong woman.
I totally agree with that. Yes.
So my wife, I give kudos to my wife during those
Yeah.
early days when I was trying to run a business.
Yeah.
And meet the demands of whatever that looked like. She was, keeping me, strong and supported from the home front, and certainly raising our children in a very good way. And our church community has been very supportive and, helpful in regards to just encouraging us and making sure that, we're a good family unit.
Totally.
So,
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Todd. I appreciate that. So kind of diving deep a little bit more, I'd love to know kind of a little bit more about your story and kind of your experience and with TK Promotions specifically. So the first question I had kind of teed up for you here is, what's one of the biggest challenges you've faced as a CEO, and what did you learn from that specific experience?
there are a lot of challenges that might come to mind. I recall in the fall of 2020, kind of hitting a wall. And when I say hitting a wall, hitting a ceiling of my capabilities of where I can lead my company or take my company. So the challenge there was, am I good enough to take us to the next level? And I was questioning that reality. And I posted something on LinkedIn. I said, hey, anybody have any business coaches or anybody that they could recommend that I reach out to try to help me as the CEO, me as this owner of this company, improve, get better, lead this company to the next level. And had a number of friends that I knew reach out, say, hey, you should reach out to this person. Hey, we should grab coffee. And one of my good friends, JJ White, was just getting into implementing this thing called EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System. And we grabbed coffee. He started asking me a bunch of questions. I didn't have answers to those questions, but I was like very intrigued by this process. There's a book called Traction that is the premise behind EOS. And EOS has changed my business dramatically. I mean, changed it completely from a people standpoint, from a process standpoint, from a visionary standpoint. There's like 5 or 6 core principles that it kind of focuses on. And that probably has been the biggest light bulb moment for me in the 17 years that I've been doing this. Like, I'm not a natural process person. I'm more of like sales, relationships. Let's just make this happen. It doesn't matter how. Let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And EOS was this framework, this kind of process of how to make it happen and how to build structure to grow. And that was exactly what I needed. So at this time that I was, recall in fall of 2020, we had a lot of other things going on.
Totally.
With our world that was very confusing. Like, how is business going to continue? Like, in what manners? And then I found this answer that I was looking for, not specifically what I was seeking because I didn't know that it existed. I just wanted some business coach that would just give me these answers and kind of work with me personally. And EOS kind of brought this answer from a company standpoint that allowed me to then focus on my visionary
Wow.
efforts and not
Yeah.
be kind of
Yeah.
in the weeds. And it's taken some time. We've been operating on it for 4 years now, and like I said, it's transformed
Yeah.
our business.
Do you guys end up self-implementing it first, or did you use an implementer? Or
Great question.
Yeah.
So knowing myself,
You tried self-implementing it first?
exactly incorrect.
Oh.
I knew that if I did try to do it, it would fail. Like
Right.
I am not disciplined enough in that regard to follow the process. I said, I need somebody to hold us accountable here. And so JJ has been our implementer since then and has done a great job of holding our team, myself and our team accountable. Knowing if I did it myself, I would have floundered
Right.
quickly.
Right.
Wow.
Well, especially if it's something you're not familiar with,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like you're probably
Now I'm an expert with it. I feel like our team could, and we do essentially, we do self-implement it now,
Mm-hmm.
and we bring JJ back in for our annual retreat. But we operate it essentially on our own now, 4 years in, which is the goal anyway.
Mm-hmm. When you say companies, there's typically a pivotal point with a company like yours, right? Where it's like, hey, I feel like we're kind of at capacity or right capability or whatever it might be. Like, do you see a similar story with clients that implement programs like EOS?
I would say when you are reaching a point beyond your ability as a sole owner, whether you've developed a leadership team or not, that's a pivotal time to build out the structure for your top team, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer Todd. It's Todd and this team that can help make decisions and provide support for the rest of the team. And there are a lot of people out there that might be running their own business, but 95% of it is on them.
Right.
And so as you try to parse off, hey, I'm going to take this 25% on my ops and hire somebody there, or this 25% of finance and hire somebody there, or sales, and start to break that out, then you need to start building a structure for those people to operate within. And that's what EOS kind of provided. Fortunately for me, when we started EOS, there were 4 leadership team members that were pretty clear were the team, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Including myself, and each of them kind of filled, one sales, one finance, one operations, kind of filled each of the buckets. And it wasn't anything that, it was kind of pre-planned. Like those people were already in place. So when we started, it was kind of like, hey, here we go. I've got several friends that are in the process of doing EOS, and they might not have all those seats filled, or certainly if they have them filled, maybe not with the right person.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very fortunate to have the right people in those seats consistently since we started, which is a huge
Leg up.
yes,
Wow.
very much so. Because
Wow.
I mean, the right person in the right seat is the main thing,
Yeah.
and that's an EOS term: right
Yeah.
people, right seat. Like you could have the right people in the wrong seat, or vice versa. Then you're not operating on
Mm-hmm.
a full
Wow.
capacity.
So, listeners, we're only 2 episodes in. We've had 2 guests back to back talk about EOS. So it's
Mindy
amazing.
talked about it, too.
Mindy talked a lot about that. So
I believe Mindy's self-implementing, if I understand her process correctly.
She was, and I think now she might have a fractional COO
Okay.
that might be helping out a little bit with that. But yeah, she was for a while.
yeah, she
Yeah.
talked a lot about it during her episode as well too. So
I actually had a meeting with her COO this morning,
Yeah, what's her
amazing,
name?
Courtney Vaughn.
That's what it is.
Yeah, we had a breakfast meeting this morning in the office. So
amazing.
unrelated to Mindy's working with her, I'd kind of brought her in to learn more about her capabilities and,
Yeah,
either for our company, TK Promotions, or for my friends that are also looking to implement, or they're currently implementing EOS, to make sure that I understand what she can offer to them if there's obviously a fit.
totally.
So I'm just trying to learn, about her,
That's
her skill
great.
set.
That's great. Todd, kind of next question, moving on from there, is there a particular moment though you're really proud of over these past 17 years that really stands out as a big milestone, or something you really feel very proud of that you've achieved?
Great question. I would say, you can get proud about client wins. Kind of hang your hat on, oh, we won that one. We got this big opportunity here and there, which is, I could list out a number of those. I would say the thing that I'm most proud at in the company is, for the first time, and this is like recently, I could legitimately say we've got all the right people in the right seats. And over the last 4 years, have not been able to say that. So when I say I'm proud, I mean, it's not like this one, moment that kind of you hit the pinnacle and then you're back down to the bottom date. And then the next day, this is kind of like we've been climbing to this point and we hope to never come back down. Like we're always going to be adding now the right people in the right seats. And that's from a organizational standpoint, really important to me. One of the reasons why I wanted to start my own business was to create a company that I would want to work for. So if it's employee, benefits or team culture or whatever, and we've, revised this along the way. We haven't been perfect since the beginning, but always keep in mind that the team member experience or having a culture where people are like, this is the best job I've ever had. And I hear that a lot from our team. Individually comes to me and says, hey, this is the best job I've ever had. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm trying to create here. Create an opportunity for people to provide for their families, to build a retirement for themselves later in life, provide these things and these resources for people, and obviously, and have fun doing it. Like we have a team of people that oftentimes we interact with people outside of our company, and they're like, I can tell your team genuinely enjoys being with each other. And that's special. That is fulfilling to me as the leader of the group. Because it hasn't always been that way. And so we've gotten to the point where that's the case. And I feel very fulfilled in that particular thing. So from a pinnacle standpoint, like I said, I could throw out a bunch of different projects that we've worked on that have been huge wins. But for me personally, a win is creating this team culture and this atmosphere that people feel valued and respected within an organization that they're a part of.
Absolutely.
And it looks like you guys have fun. Like
we
even
do.
on LinkedIn and stuff, right? Like
yes,
you got different
Yeah.
conference or dinners or team events. And it looks like you guys do such a good job at the team aspect of things.
We eat lots of food.
Yeah.
We eat lots
I was
of
thinking
food.
back, we did our annual state of the company.
Yeah. What's the expense budget on meals?
I have to check with my finance team on that one because we might need to start curtailing that. But we were talking, and during the state of the company, I always try to do a little bit of a reflection in regards to what we did last year, and I started building out this slide deck of kind of like when you're at a wedding ceremony or a rehearsal dinner, and they show all the pictures, whatever. I'm a softie for that type of stuff, so I started creating that for our team for like the previous year. And I started looking back, and I was like, "We eat a lot of food." Yeah. But you know what? When you're around the table with family or friends, like you get to know each other better. And it's not always like this intentional, super deep conversation, but like we're building rapport, we're building connection. People learn things about each other that they didn't know before, and that I think builds trust in the organization as we try to work together. It's more comfortable to be more vulnerable, have healthy conflict, all the things, that the 5 dysfunctions of a team talks about, and making sure that we have that healthy team, and so a lot of it all works together. But yeah, we really try to have fun. Honestly, if we're not, what are we doing?
Totally. There's something magical about sitting down and having a meal with people, I think. And
We should have had a meal today.
I know we should have.
I actually didn't eat lunch, so I would love that.
You're starving us, man.
A little PB&J and Hornitos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stop at the piano bar. Yeah, in the building. Todd, so 17 years first, that's huge. That's amazing to get there. That's a huge milestone. And
Thank you, yeah.
if you could kind of go back like in a time machine, go back to when you were just starting out 17 years ago, with all the knowledge that you have now, what's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self if you were just starting out, kind of going back in time? What's one piece of advice you give your younger self at the start?
This is always a great question. I'm not one to like look back and like either regret or if I did this different. I feel like everything's within God's plan, and we're here today because of all the things. But I would say building a peer group around me that was either in a similar stage of business or supported me in holding me accountable to doing things that I aspired to do professionally or personally. One of the things that I got involved with in 2015 was the Virginia Council of CEOs. And there are certain requirements to become a member of that. So I wouldn't have qualified for a very long time. However, in that I have 8 other CEOs that I meet with monthly, and we talk about issues from personal to professional, all the way through. And they've held me accountable to things. They've followed up on things that I've brought up in the group, and having an intentional group of people that I met with, and it doesn't have to be an official organization like that, but just mentors or people, honestly, like the two of you that I would sit down with and have a conversation and say, hey, here's what's going on. You guys could provide feedback or advice on, hey, this is what I went through last week, and when we kind of had a similar issue. I kind of went at it alone more than I should have. And it eventually became more open to those types of things once I found out they existed, and I would never go back. There's a huge benefit in being a member of a peer group, whether officially an organization or just a roundtable. Very similar to like a Bible study, and have a small group of people that you work with and you pray with and you study with. There's a lot of meat in those conversations and those meetings.
That's great. Is that easier for you to do, like to go and like reach out to peers, or are you kind of more like a more introvert or extrovert? Because I know for me, a lot of times it can be like, I'm just going to just do this by myself. I'm just put my head down, do that. But you get caught in your own vacuum, basically, your own space. Did you find was that challenging for you to try and push yourself to get around a peer group or ask for that support or that accountability? How was that for you?
So I think it would be harder if I was asking for like from competitors. If like, we filmed a competitor peer group, where I would be like, I'm not sure if I want to say some of this stuff. If you're forming a peer group that are, similar stage of life, either like family life or professional life, that is unrelated to an industry, just kind of any industry would work. That I feel like you get different perspectives. Everybody's got their own background on where they're coming from, whether it's, personal, professional, and they bring that to the table. I'm more of an extrovert than an introvert. I'm not always an extrovert, but there are times that I know I get energy from other people. And so spending time with you guys brings me a ton of energy. If I'm by myself, I've got some energy, but like I thrive on other people more. And so I know that about myself now, where finding people that I can spend time with, it just bounces back that energy to me that I give into it. So
That's great. We'll be right back after this short message.
Are employee benefits a headache for your company? At BenX, we simplify benefits so you can focus on growing your business. From custom benefit solutions to cutting-edge technology, we make it easy for companies to take care of their teams. Visit benxconsulting.com to see how we can simplify benefits for your growing company.
Your story is powerful, but is it reaching the right audience? At FilmSpire, we create compelling videos and provide marketing strategies to make sure they drive real results. From crafting your message to amplifying it, we help you connect with your audience like never before. Ready to inspire? Let's tell your story. And now, back to the show. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but I'd love to kind of know, kind of wrapping up kind of for your story here, but what are some goals you kind of have set for TK Promotions, and also just for yourself, Todd? I'd love to know what those goals are, and then follow up, like what are things you're working to achieve both of those goals specifically? So for you yourself, Todd, and then also for TK Promotions.
Absolutely. So going back to the EOS model, coming off of our 2-day annual retreat, I guess about 2 weeks ago now, some of our business goals, obviously, we specifically say some of our key accounts are called Tier 1 clients. And Tier 1 clients, we have a different process for marketing. We've got a different process for communicating about them internally. And so we say that level of client is a client that's doing about $100,000 or more with our company. And it fits the values of our company. So it can't just do the revenue, but it also has to fit the values. Are they collaborative? Do they respect us? Are they committed? Are they driven? And then do they have a service-minded heart? And so it doesn't just involve revenue; it involves the kind of the values fit. And so our goals is to continue to add people like that. So we're looking for clients that fit that mold and bringing them in and getting and servicing them. We've got 12 of them currently that we're working with, always adding new ones because we know from a growth standpoint, if we want to hit 10, 12 million in revenue eventually, we're going to have to do it through key accounts, and these tier one clients are our goal to do that. So that's from a professional standpoint, is just continuing to add like-minded clients that we can serve, that appreciate our services, and kind of build a collaboration is our number one core value. That is like through and through what we try to do. If we work with somebody that's too transactional, it becomes kind of uncomfortable. We're like, hey, this is really not how we work. Mm-hmm. We want to collaborate with you. We want both ways. Like it's a two-way street. So making sure that we're finding the right fit for those. So from a professional standpoint, certainly adding tier one clients is one of our goals. The second goal is, we're in the process of just finding if there's anybody we can acquire. So, if it's an existing business that might have an older founder that wants to get out, or if it's a company that we're in an area that we're looking to expand into, we can find somebody in that area. So it's one of those things that I don't really talk about much because I don't want to me, business is not just about making more money. It's about doing it the right way and doing it with the right people. And so finding the right fit is going to be the most important piece there. Just to grow is not what the goal is, because more growth can be more headaches and more challenges that are like, we don't need that. But if we grow the right way, if we find the right people that we can look at merging with or acquiring to grow, expand our company, expand our team members and our services, that is definitely on the table in the near future. We've had a number of conversations, both in the state of Virginia and outside of the state of Virginia, and we'll continue to do that over the course of the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Personally, spend more time with my family. Mm-hmm. That's never, not a focus. One of the goals, my wife, I saw somebody that I went to college with post something on LinkedIn, and he had 50 dates with his wife last year, and they have 2 kids. I don't know what age, but they have 2 kids. And so some of the times they would just put the kids to bed and go downstairs and like sit in the sunroom and drink coffee or, hang out there versus watch TV. And so my wife and I are trying to hit 50 dates this year.
That's exciting.
So 4 a month-ish.
Yeah.
And so tonight we're going out to dinner with, once a week or one of the 4 dates per month, we're going to try to do like a double date or something with somebody else to make more of a social connection and not just the two of us. Mm-hmm. So that's a personal thing that, again, it's not just checking off the list, but like by achieving that, we'll make so much more of a richer relationship with my wife. And that's a very important thing for me.
Totally.
I am not a words of affirmation guy. And so the more I can talk with my wife, the more she will understand that I do love her a lot.
Yeah.
And that she's really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy in a CEO role where I am very driven to achieve results professionally that I don't correlate that to personal achievement and results. I feel it, but I might not articulate it the way that I need to the people that I love the most. So this allows us to spend the quality time together and really kind of create some conversation. And it's not just a calendaring event, which we will do. We'll need to do that. It's not just a budgeting event, which we will do. That's needed. But it's a time to get to know each other at a deeper level, share concerns, hopes and dreams and all the things. And also have our children see this and make sure that they see mom and dad spending time together, that this is healthy.
Yeah. Great example. Yeah.
Where are you guys going to dinner tonight?
We're going to Sedona Tap House
at
Westchester Commons. We're actually going to dinner with some friends that live on the south side, and then my brother and his wife who live out in Short Pump, which is where we live. So the south side, we wanted to make sure it was convenient for them. So we're just going to hop across the river and go down there.
That's awesome.
For dinner.
That's a good spot.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Todd. That's great.
Absolutely.
I think Christian's got some other questions for us
so
too.
one of the things we do on the show too is advice to other CEOs, because other CEOs probably are going to listen to this podcast, other leaders in Richmond, nonprofits, and just executive leadership. And you have a lot of experience in branding and marketing and sales and all that fun stuff. So question I would pose to you is, how do you build a brand versus a company, especially when it comes to like, hey, you're a CEO, you're 20 employees or you're 30 employees or whatever it might be. It's like, and you have an organization or company. How do you build more of a brand identity? Because I feel like you guys have done a good job at that.
Thank you. Yeah. My advice to somebody who's looking to build a brand, I would say, I've always thought of our brand as our reputation. So when people think about you, are they feeling confident? Mm-hmm. Are they feeling, ready for your services, or like equipped, that you're equipped to do the job? And are you fun? Are you creative? And have you delivered for them in the past? And so, our reputation is everything, personally and professionally. And I've always thought of that as like a key element for when we're doing things or what we're doing. Like, our reputation is on the line, good or bad. And making sure that, I talk to and see a lot of people that are running businesses, and some of the decisions they make, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't have done that, or certainly done it that way. But here we are. And so you're building a reputation internally, but you're also maybe doing it externally with clients. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're building brand, perception is key. Not to be, superficial about it, but like what people perceive you to be, or perceive the company or the brand to be, is what they're going to think. Mm-hmm. It might not be reality. It might be close to reality. It might be far away, but, and that's using great videographers or great, web.
Someone.
Yeah.
Someone here.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Filmspire.
Yeah. Thank you.
Utilizing people that, have a unique ability to help you in a certain area. I mean, you can create a video and make somebody who's mediocre look amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so it's finding out like, what are those things? And, obviously a lot of things are digital now. So we have marketing people internally on our team that help us look us or present a certain way online. That's very true to who we are. We're not trying to like puff it up. It's like exactly who we are and what we're trying to become. But I think when you're building a brand and you're trying to market yourself, too many people don't invest enough money into it. Mm. They think, oh, let me do this on the cheap because that's what I want to do, even if I can afford more. So whether that's promotional products or film work or digital advertising or website design, investing the money and the time to make it something great.
Mm-hmm. Just throwing something up there.
Yeah, to say, I mean, you might have to do initially, right,
Sure.
when you first get started, just because that's all you've got. But I think, again, when you're building a reputation, people are going to see the video. They're going to see the products you're putting out there. And like, if you're giving a great client a cheap product, they're going to think, oh, he doesn't think much of himself. Mm-hmm. He thinks cheap. He's not willing to invest this in us for giving him this business. Like, it starts to build this story in their minds of who you are and what you're about. But on the flip side, if you're spending the quality time and money and putting into these things, film, product, whatever it is, your reputation gets built, your perception starts to improve, and people see kind of who the company is through these things, through these lenses, if you will. And you have to do it consistently. You can't just do it one time and hope for everything to take care of itself. You have to do this consistently. I always say, like, I lead a very boring life, and I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. But it's the tortoise and the hare.
It's a long-term game versus the short-term play.
The tortoise wins every time.
Mm. Yeah. I always think it's kind of a dumb example, but I think of golf balls a lot when I think of brands, because I think of like the companies that give out Pro V1s, right? And it's like no one dislikes getting a Pro V1. There's
Correct.
Not one golfer, whether you're great or not great, that's like, oh, I wish I didn't get Pro V1s, right? No one says that.
Yeah.
But you give someone like a DT Solo, right? Or you give someone like a Kirkland.
Pinnacle.
It's like you start,
Kirkland's not too bad, but
well,
Pinnacle, yeah.
but even branding wise, it's amazing how like that's something that subtle can actually make an impact, like on the mind.
They'll look at the brand of the ball. Pro V1, okay.
Yeah, who is it?
Oh, FilmSpire.
Yeah.
Hey, these guys are serious.
Yeah.
Versus Pinnacle.
Is that a Wilson?
FilmSpire. Wilson?
Is that a green Wilson?
Yeah, it's green. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you ever see those Cap's Choice? They're like the different colored balls.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
terrible. I mean, golf ball is a great example.
Yeah. That's why
Pro V1s are
are
expensive for sure. I mean,
yeah.
we do use Pro V1s. I'll have to say. But to your point, like we know the value of branding, and if you can co-brand with something like that, even if you're a mediocre brand, you're co-branding with the best. It elevates who you are, right?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people are like, hey, I want a brand name item. Sometimes it's in the budget, sometimes it's not. And fortunately, nowadays, we've got a number of suppliers that offer a dupe of a brand name. And it's just as good quality-wise. It just doesn't have the brand name and certainly doesn't have the cost. And so depending upon budget, not everybody's got the brand name budget.
The Peter Millar.
We try to work with the client to figure out what's the sweet spot that makes the most sense for the money that you have available for this. Yeah.
What's something that you see is going to change in the next 3 to 5 years in like the branding, promotion, marketing industry? What is something that you see like in the near future, the next 3 years, that this is probably going to change?
I don't know if this is something that I hope to change, but something that certainly is reality is just, people like Amazon or others that are getting into this kind of personalized product space that you can maybe print one piece on demand and, you can print 100 pieces, but on demand. And so there's no inventory, and like they've invested into the right equipment and the right technology to kind of service just thousands of orders. Companies like us that might not have the structure of Amazon with warehouses and facilities to invest into that type of stuff. If people are used to just going to Amazon and buying whatever they want and just starting to kind of change their corporate dollars over there, it's nowhere near where it needs to be yet, for sure. And I'm not even sure there's much there, but just trying to make sure that the market doesn't change dramatically to an online only marketplace. We're still very driven on relationships. And so we do have online capabilities and things like that, but very focused on developing the relationship around similar core values to make sure that, hey, when something happens that's not good, we pick up the phone and we call them, or they call us, and we have actual people that are doing the work and not some type of, bot that's answering their phone calls or something like that, which a lot of companies are really starting to take into.
Yeah, but don't you feel like, especially like some of your value-added services, like is the collaboration and the consulting of it, right? Like a client come to you, I have $100,000 in budget, right? If a client comes to you and says that, I'm sure it's a mixed bag, but are they specifically saying like, we need your help with like deciding on how to spend this? Maybe it's, over a quarter or over a year, or are they coming and saying like, we specifically want this stuff? So I feel like with the online sales, it's like you get no collaboration or consulting around any of that.
It's a transaction.
Right.
Yeah, so it'd be great if they said, here's our $100,000, help us figure it out. Typically they say, hey, we've got some events coming up, and they give us a small snippet of what their world looks like. What we try to do is collaborate with them and say, hey, let's look at a 12-month span of what your events or your needs are. And we start mapping out like, hey, in January you have these events, in March, all the, and so we look at a 12-month plan, a yearly plan, and kind of say, how can we start giving you ideas for these things that are 4 months out now, whether it's samples or virtuals. So before you even start thinking about it, we've got some ideas ready for you. That's kind of what we see more of than just somebody saying, hey, I've got this massive lump sum.
Right.
Let's go get it. Let's figure out how to do it. I mean, sometimes or most of the time, clients aren't going to give you that lump number. You might get to it at the end of the year because you've collaborated with them, but a lot of people still hold back that stuff because they don't. Maybe agreed that nobody wants to take advantage of whatever the figure is because it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
But as far as additional to answer your question on the challenges for the industry, I think there are a number of people in my industry that are aging out in their 60s, maybe even 70s, that have run these distributorships for years, that and making sure that we're bringing in younger people that have, the new training from colleges these days and just AI training and things like that. And how are we bringing in new blood to the industry? We have started to address that. I mean, I would say our not necessarily by age, we haven't hired specifically because of age. Let me make sure I clarify that. But the most recent
Disclaimer.
4 or 5 hires, not everybody has been, in their early to mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're bringing in new blood to the industry that's providing a new, fresh, and outlook on everything. And I mean, I've got competitors around the country that they're in their 60s and maybe even early 70s. And seeing that transition take place will be interesting in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. I feel the same in my industry.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Yes. Very much so.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. You're probably even more heavy on the older folks in your industry that are looking to transition out.
Yeah. There's got to be at some point some type of exodus, but you never know. Insurance is a weird game.
Yeah, you need to get some money behind you and start going and buying these businesses and create this massive mecca.
Yeah, I'll give you a call tomorrow about that, about the money part.
Yeah. You want to give me some? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, good stuff, man. I think some of that's some really good advice. Mm-hmm. I have one last question, and it's kind of a personal question, like advice, but also I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs, and it's not marketing related, but a lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs have this question. And you were talking earlier about like EOS and empowering your leadership team and the team that you work with. What advice would you give CEOs and entrepreneurs and leaders? How can they empower their own team to take ownership and grow?
Professional development is really important. EOS has tools in it that allow for some like we read books. So we've read several books in the EOS process so far.
And
EOS,
you said leadership team?
Leadership team.
Gotcha.
Leadership team. We've read several EOS books. We've also read several books that JJ, our implementer, has brought to the table. Working Genius, which is a Patrick Lencioni book, figuring out what geniuses each of our leadership team members have. We've read the 5 dysfunctions of a team, kind of helping us work through like these levels of dysfunction and how are we improving some of these things, which has been a dramatic improvement on where we started to where we are today. We're in the process of reading through Positive Intelligence, which talks about we each have saboteurs in life that we all have the judge saboteur, but we also have then like a secondary saboteur, and mine's the pleaser. I'm more likely to be like welcoming and pleasing to people. Some people might be more likely to control situations. Some people are more like relational driven. Like there's like 8 or 9 saboteurs that this book talks about. So it's a lot of like personal learning about yourself. Some of it goes deep in like how you were raised and things like that. But I think it allows, with leadership, it's all about learning. And if you're not reading, if you're not involved in these types of things, and you just think that you know it all, you're not going to be growing. You're not going to be growing. Yes. And so making sure that my team is exposed to learning opportunities, whether that's through reading, through there's an EOS conference in DC coming up. Tracy, our integrator, is going to be attending that, kind of attending the integrator workshop. So what can she be learning that's new and, kind of the latest and greatest from that space? We're in a pure buying group in our industry, and we take our top salespeople, and my VP of sales and myself, Wayne, always go, and there's learning experiences there. We're learning about product. We're learning about vendors. So just making sure that there's plenty of opportunity for people to personally maybe say, hey, I want to do this, or collectively we as a group do it, to make sure that we're always learning, we're always growing.
Sure.
Because once you stop doing those things, you start to plateau.
You're going one way or the other.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that then goes down to our team. Right? I'm specifically talking about our leadership team, but that would go to the rest of the team. The Virginia CEOs does a fall leaders conference, and it's not just for the CEOs; it's for the CEOs and their teams, depending upon who they want to invite. And so I opened that up to the team last year. It was about crucial conversations was, I think, the topic. And so it gave you like a little workbook, and we had 4 or 5 of us attend, and took a bunch of notes. Marcus Sheridan was the guy that did that when he wrote a book called They Ask You Answer. It's a really good marketing book. And so he presented, and like our team came back and like, wow, these are some great nuggets that we can kind of start to build into our day, and certainly professionally and personally kind of improve some things. So making sure that I am not hindering growth. I mean, I think there's an adage where it says like, hey, if your team's not growing, like you're hurting yourself. Like help them grow. It'll benefit everybody at the end of the day. And obviously they're going to appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah. So look for opportunities to help them grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And that comes in many different shapes and forms.
Yeah.
Could be podcasts. Like, hey guys, I found this new podcast. Actually, here's a thought I've had. I'm going to implement it soon.
Okay.
I'm going to create like a bookshelf in our office. I'm not going to build it. I'm going to buy it probably from Amazon. No, IKEA. I'm going to IKEA.
Oh,
Nice.
maybe that's where I need to go.
I'm going to create a bookshelf in the office that has like Todd's books. And so I'm going to supply books from, I'm a big follower of Dave Ramsey.
Yep.
So books from Dave Ramsey, books like Patrick Lencioni books, all kinds of business books that I personally want to make sure my team has the opportunity to read. They can just grab one. As long as they promise they're going to read it, just take it.
Yeah.
And or like books that might be able to like make a note and take it to a client or something like that. So like books that would be, worthy of taking to a client and say, hey, I've just read this, wanted to just bring you a copy and let you see it, but also make sure my team has the ability to read it. My team loves to read. Most of the books that they're reading are books that I would never read.
Sure.
I'm not a romantic rom-com kind of guy.
See, now
That's shocking.
That's shocking.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. My wife, on the other hand, but I think, just making sure I'm empowering them to expose new ideas and things to them through the reading.
It's a great idea. Great idea.
Well, good stuff. Well, Todd, this has been such a great conversation.
Yeah.
And so glad we can make it happen. A couple last things before we let you go, though. One is a question from the Virginia Council of CEOs. Have you heard of that organization before?
A few times.
Yeah. So obviously, you kind of already answered this question early on the interview, but the question from the Virginia Council of CEOs is the last question we ask to our guest. And the question is, as a CEO, it can be lonely at the top. How do you deal with that challenge?
Great question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott McRoberts. I remember actually working with the Virginia Council CEOs and marketing person to kind of come up with this, like, it's lonely at the top theme.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that this has come back around.
Oh yeah, we asked Scott. That's what he said.
So, repeat your question again, because I want to make sure I'm not just answering. I want to make sure I hear
we can do the bit again. So the last question is from the Virginia Council of CEOs. It's one we ask to every guest, and the question is: as a CEO, it can be lonely at the top. How do you deal with that challenge?
This is a very good question, Christian. A lot of times as the leader of the organization, people assume you've got it all together, that you've got no worries, that you're financially set forever, and that's definitely not the case. If anything, it's the same things that they're going through times 100.
Mm-hmm.
I think about every one of the team members and what they're dealing with, in addition to what I've got going on. I'm worried about every one of their financial worlds on top of what I've got going on. And so you take on this paternal mode where you want to help everybody, you want to take care of people, you want to do the best you can, but you're the CEO, you're the owner, and they think differently of you as this leader, as this figurehead, and then there's the rest of the team. And so nobody says, oh, hey, Todd, let's go grab lunch today and just hang out. Like, nobody says that. Nobody asks for that. I'd love that. I actually schedule coffees and lunches with my team to try to find connection with them. And so a lot of times I feel like and it doesn't bother me, but I feel like I'm kind of left out. Like I'm this CEO that just has everything over here together, and then it's the rest of the team. Making sure that I include myself in things that are happening within the company more often than maybe naturally would happen. And I mentioned earlier, I'm in a peer group of people that are sitting in very similar seats, that we have a very good round table, and we have even some side groups within the round table. There's one group of 4 other gentlemen that I'm with, that we have a text chain that we go through, and we track our goals together. So it could be fitness, it could be reading books, it could be whatever it is. And feeling like you have somebody that's seeing you for who you are, and kind of knowing that you have struggles just like everything else. Easier to do that with these guys than certainly with the team on some of those things.
Yeah.
I have just the same struggles as everybody else. The same worries, the same anxieties. You know, and CEOs are people too.
Yeah.
100%.
Plugging into the right community, though. Like just going through life with people who experience a very similar thing to you.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, good stuff. And then Taylor, you want to talk about the nonprofit?
Yeah. One thing we do on every show is we ask our guest what's a nonprofit that they love and support, because we, as a team, part of the podcast, we'd like to make a donation to that nonprofit of your choosing. So, Todd, the question is, what nonprofit should we send our donation to? Who do you want to give a shout out to?
This is great. I didn't know you guys did this. This is awesome. So when you ask the question, the immediate organization in my mind is very, very dear to me, is the Fatherhood Foundation of Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
I just rolled off the board, but is a organization that supports fatherhood in the state of Virginia. And oftentimes people ask, hey, why are we not helping out the ladies, the women? And our response is, we're making better men. That's how we're helping them. And so there's programs to get in the jails called the Inside Outside Dad program. We've got programs to help fathers in new dads that are coming out. So we have a father boot camp that we work with hospitals on. And then we've got the Father Christmas event every year that we give presents and cash to men who have had a bad year and need a little help. And so every year we have several hundred nominees for that, and we give out 25. We recognize 25 dads for that program. So it's a great organization.
Yeah, awesome.
Anybody wants to check it out, vadad.org. And I know they'd be very appreciative of your support.
Absolutely.
I know Chris Beach will love that. So yeah, he's a great guy. So awesome.
Yes.
You got it. Well, good stuff, man. Well, thanks again and for taking the time and for the great conversation.
I'm honored to have been chosen to participate. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for watching. Tune in next time. Subscribe, like, share, all those things you guys know already. Thanks again, Todd, for coming. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.